Hello, I'm Sandy Lemons from Tabby Tree Weaver in Fishers, Indiana. And I am going to show you the process of how to put a warp on an Inkle Loom for tablet weaving specifically in a way that is much easier for beginners because it's very forgiving in that each card or tablet has its own little warp so that it's easiest to correct mistakes and make adjustments because the whole warp isn't tied up together. Every card has its own little warp. So here we go. Like most tablet weaving patterns, the first card or tablet is going to have 4 threads of the same color going through it in order to create a border on the band that you're weaving. So I've got my border color. I'm going to pop it on a yarn cone holder and set that on the floor. Now I'm going to measure out my first thread. So I need to decide which pegs I want to go around in order to create the length that I want. The pegs I have to go around are the tension peg and this peg. If the front peg is not your tension peg on your loom, then you want to make sure to go around the front peg as well as the tension peg. The other pegs are simply to create more length. So I'm going to start here, holding the thread here, and then I'm just going to go around the pegs that I want to go around to in order to get the length that I want. Once I've done that, I just hold that spot on the yarn without cutting it, and now I can pull it off. And now I draw the second thread off of the cone until I get to the end of that first thread, and I double it over, and now I'm getting the third thread. And then I double it over again, and now I'm getting my fourth thread. So I've got 4 threads, all the same length. And then I can go ahead and cut that here. And then I've got a loop here. I'm going to cut that too, so I have 4 individual threads. On the other end, I've got conveniently 2 loops because I've used one continuous strand of yarn. If I had been doing different colors for a single card, then I'd have to draw them off of a different cone. And in that case, I would just tie a knot in the end so that they're all fastened together. Okay, so I've got the loop going around the front bar. I go backwards underneath the loom. I follow the path that I've decided on so that I can create the length that I want. And I come over this top and front bar back down towards the front, and now I'm ready to thread my cards according to the pattern. You know, you want to thread them in the right direction, either through the front or the back of the card. And this video doesn't cover that information about tablet slant. This is simply about how to put this warp on the loom. So once I've got my cards all threaded, there we go. Okay, my card is threaded, and now I'm ready to tie it onto the loom here. So I'm going to give you a closer look of what I'm doing here. All right, now I'm all set to go ahead and tie this onto the loom. So I'm going to take this loop going around the front peg, and I'm going to pull it under there, and then I'm going to pull it up and over. Now these loose ends here are going to go through the top of that loop. I'll pull them through the bottom, okay? And then I'm going to split those in 2. And now is the time for me to tighten this up to the tension that I want it to be at. And then I'm going to take these 2 threads and I'm going to tie them in a little knot there. And so now I've got my first card on the loom, and then I just repeat the same exact process for every additional card following the pattern across until I have every one of these, every card threaded. The nice thing here is if I make some kind of threading mistake, you know, in the middle of my warp, like let's say on the 25th card, it turns out there's a threading error, I just have to undo this one little bundle that card is on, and then I can rethread it and retie it on without really any trouble. So that's the advantage of this warping method.